And or you dealt with, I mean, you had any Albanian friends? I mean, you don't have to mention their names, but what was the perception in those days of the Albanians? I mean, the Albanians really started coming in the 70s. That's when the heavy wave is. Do you remember what that was like when the Albanians first hit the streets of New York from the old days?
The Albanians are very strong force, very old-fashioned, like the Italians originally were before the 70s. People ask me, when was the downfall of the Italians? I always tell them when the movie The Godfather came out, because it glamorized the life. For anybody who thinks it's glamorized, forget about it. There's no glamour in it. Yes, I had some very close, I still do to this day, some Albanian friends. I think the Albanians are great people. I got friends who are Albanian here and in other countries, actually. They're good people, and I don't want to mention their name, but you know who I'm talking about.
You find them to be loyal?
I find them to be loyal. Like I said, they are what the Italians used to be.
Don't you just think it's an evolution? You know, the melting into the pot, the losing of the tradition of the old ways. I think culture has a lot to play with it, right? A lot of Albanians are still first generation. Their families are back home. Everyone still has ties back home. They live by a little bit of a different code.
They live by the rules that the rules were back home. Like the Italians live by the rules. But the evolution has taken place. The new ones come into it, and they want to change things. And eventually, what happened to the Italians will happen to the Albanians and the Russians as they become Americanized.
But what was it like? I mean, in the 70s and 80s, I mean, were the Albanians, were they independent groups? Were they working with the mob? Were they against the mob? I mean, what was it like?
They were working together. You got to remember, almost every group that come to this country, because the Italians were fair first, okay, ended up working with the Italians.
They did
Russians,
collaborations, right?
Yeah, we got a lot of Albanians out here.
L.A.?
L.A., yeah, good people.
A lot of the big singers right now, superstars. Huh? A lot of superstars right now are Albanian, female. Yeah. Some of the top singers in the world, actually the 5 top singers out of the U.S. right now, and one from the U.K. She just won the Grammy. Her name's Dua Lipa, if you look her up. Yeah, she's huge. And you have Rita Ora, you have Ava Max, you have Gashi.
A lot of beautiful women come from Albania, too.
Very ancient, man. Very ancient people. You never know. If you did a DNA test, you might be surprised, Ori. You might be surprised. You might have some Albanian in you, and I've spoken about this on previous...
Yeah, we spoke about this here, and I would agree with you.
We had a huge migration there in the 14th century, 1400s. We had a large exodus of our people. They crossed the Adriatic Sea, and they settled in Calabria and Sicily. So I have my own theory. I've gotten a lot of flap from it, a lot of hate mail and trolling mail.
Really?
But, 600 years, half of our people left and went to these regions. We operate by an ancient code, which is even older than that time period, which is very similar to the vendetta, right? And we still operate by that code to this day, regardless of where we are. And it's not if you're a gangster or not. It's literally the culture. It's embedded into the culture. Eye for eye. Blood wars that go back and forth. These things happened in the Bronx, and they happened in Manhattan, and they had nothing to even do with crime. There were shootings and retaliation and wars that went on between families. It was it was like the Wild Wild West, New York back in those days.
Bek Lover.